Hello, my name is Mckenzie Barker, and this is my video project for Sociology 352, Social Change. So my social movement that I decided to pick was going to be the plastic straw movement. I mostly picked this because you've seen in the news recently and on social media the effects that plastic straws have on sea turtles. It's also ruining our oceans for our future generations. And it's kind of just being aware of plastic. It's not necessarily just plastic straws. This is kind of just like a start of the movement. And then we just want to get people thinking about the alternatives to plastic straws. So this would be like reusing grocery bags at the grocery store, or using mason jars instead of plastic baggies, and doing things without containers. So like you see on Facebook and on Instagram, they have like these new soaps and shampoos that do not come in containers anymore. They actually just come wrapped, and they kind of just biodegradable, just like a soap. You use it. So that's kind of just what I got started to think about for this video project, because to me this is just super cool. It's a really easy thing that you could do, so that's kind of why I did it. So for this project, I wanted to focus on the activities that people are doing to spread the word about the innovation, and how their activities are influencing others to adopt this kind of no plastic straw movement. And so it's kind of just to get people thinking. I mean, everyone says, oh, it's only one straw, it's only one straw. But, I mean, one person uses one straw, that's 2 straws a day, 14 straws a week. I mean, that stuff adds up. So, again, this is one of the smaller movements, but it's just to get people to start thinking about the use of plastic and kind of where it all goes once we're done using it. So, the type of factors that influence this change process I chose would be both materialistic and idealistic factors. We look at the materialistic factors because it's looking to replace straws with alternatives. So we've seen paper straws, which sometimes aren't the best because they kind of degrade in your drink, get a little bit soft. We've seen stainless steel straws, even the ones that come on the keychain that you can take to restaurants is super cool. And we've seen plant-based straws. So they feel kind of like plastic, but they're solely plant-based, which is super cool because eventually they'll be biodegradable, making a little bit easier for our oceans to degrade them. And then idealistic, because we want to respect Mother Nature and make sure that our future generations have an ocean, and make sure that we're not ruining everything for them. So we've kind of seen these examples of the coral reef slowly dying over time, the pollutions of our oceans. We've seen a lot of innovations trying to get the oceans clean, and I know that's a big thing right now, is trying to create something to sweep up all of the plastic that's in our oceans. And then just the sea turtles is like a big thing for a lot of people. We've seen videos on social media of sea turtles with straws in their noses, and I mean, sea turtles didn't really do anything for anybody, so that's kind of really important. Some models of change for this process would be a dialectical change, meaning there's kind of 2 points of views. So we have the older generation points of views that's like, oh, one straw isn't going to harm. I work in a restaurant, and a lot of older guests get a little angry if you don't give them a straw right away. They're like, can I get a straw? So it's kind of just funny. Whereas younger generations, focusing on the millennials, will order a water. Hey, can I get a water without a straw? So it's kind of just seeing 2 points of views, because the millennial generation is going to have to deal with this when the older generation's gone. So it's kind of to just get people start thinking about all of this. It could also lead to a linear change process, because if the millennials teach the younger generations, then it can continue with the movement. So that's kind of what we were hoping for, to just get people to start thinking and teach the future generations, so that way this doesn't stay a problem forever. So the perspective that I thought that fit best with this movement is going to be the functionalist perspective, because it's all about working together to promote this change. and that's not going to happen if people are against that, or something like that. I wanted to focus specifically on functionalism as a whole, so it's going to be the strains that is triggering the change to happen. So like the big one that I talked about is the decline in sea turtles. So that's a big one for a lot of people. They're seeing these videos out there and it's making them want to change. Also, the ocean's pollution is a problem. A lot of people are just passionate about that as whole plastic and not just plastic straws. And then social media has a really big output on this social movement, because you see social media and you're scrolling and you're seeing all these things, so it's kind of just making you aware of what's going on to kind of promote that change. An origin of the social change would be exogenous factors, because we're looking for new ideas and technologies, and plus it's changes in the physical environment. So new ideas and technologies would be those paper straws that I talked about, the stainless steel straws, plant-based straws, no straws in general. I know we've seen companies like Starbucks do those new lids, and we of course know that there's problems with those. They use extra plastic, but it's just those new ideas and innovations out there that's getting people thinking about alternatives that we can use. And then changes in the physical environment. Obviously, that's the decline of sea turtles. That's going to be the coral reef, stuff like that. So just changes in the physical environment have a big impact on society. The main change agent for this is going to be individuals, mostly businesses, corporations that are refusing to use plastic straws. But we want to stop the use of plastic straws by changing attitudes mostly, and we want to do this by social media, getting people aware so that they feel more included and feel like they need to help change, and then changing the behaviors of people. So it just depends on the individual's motivation to change. They might not care, kind of like the older generation, or the millennial generation might care a little bit more. So it's just, we want to get people's behavior to change to stop using plastic straws. And we want to just get people thinking in general about plastic. It doesn't even have to be plastic straws, but just thinking about how much plastic you use every single day in your life, and where that stuff all goes once you throw it in the dumpster. So it's kind of just thinking about that. I know a lot of us live in Arizona and we're like, I'm not close to the ocean, my stuff doesn't go to the ocean, but it's a really big deal. So like I said, this is focusing on everyone, but this is focusing more on the millennial generation, because they're going to be the ones who teach their kids, and then they teach their kids. So that's kind of what we want, the more of that linear perspective. A change strategy for these, I used three of them. I used facilitated, re-educated, and persuasive strategies. For facilitated, this relies on the actions of the people and recognition that if change doesn't happen, then there will be consequences. And those consequences might not affect us, but they will affect the generations after us, which I think is just as important. Re-educated strategy, because we're trying to get people to get in the habit out of using plastic straws. I know I'm really bad with that. I go get Starbucks, or I go to Dutch Bros and I want a straw. So that's kind of just thinking about that, getting people to stop that behavior and get out of that habit. And then persuasive strategy is based on spreading awareness, which is a big deal with this. We just want to get the word out there so that people are aware and that they have that mindset that, one straw does matter. So I categorize this social movement under two types. It's going to be instrumental, which seeks to change the way people use and abuse straws. So like I said earlier, just like when you order a drink, order it without a straw, or bring your own straw with if you have to use a straw. And then expressive social movement, because we want to change people's behavior. We look to change their habits and look to make them aware. Some social movement theories I chose. Well, I actually only chose one, so it's going to be the new movement theory. I kind of want to talk about how this is a new movement theory because a lot of this was brought up because a marine biologist posted that video of a sea turtle with a straw in its nose, and that impacted a lot of people. That somebody educated on the topic, you know, was like, listen, this is an issue, this needs to be addressed. So it's kind of turning more towards an environmentalist movement, but it's just getting people aware. It's mostly doing this by like media. Businesses are a big deal. Food industries have cut back a lot of straws in some cities. So that's kind of important. Like I said, just to kind of sum this all up, it's all about being aware of plastic. This is not just plastic straws. This is kids' toys. This is containers from your hairspray or your hair gel. This is even toothpaste. And some of those toothpastes where there's mint strips, those mint strips are actually plastic that you're brushing your teeth with. And then once you brush your teeth, you spit it down the sink, and where does all that plastic go? So it's kind of just getting you to think about how much you're using and what alternatives we can do. You think that one person isn't going to change, but this is what it is. One person influences another person, influences another person. And this movement has been very effective lately. We've seen big companies like Alaska Airlines, Starbucks, a lot of restaurants. I work for Fox Restaurants in Phoenix, and all of Fox Restaurants have stopped using straws. In states like California and Vancouver, they have stopped using straws, and this is kind of just to get people to start noticing. Just like California has a ban against like plastic bags. You can't get plastic bags in California unless you pay for them, and they're about 30 cents a bag. So it's kind of like the same thing that we want to get people to start thinking and be more aware. That's the most important thing for this movement. So thank you for taking the time to watch this, and I hope you do not use plastic straws anymore.